I'm Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy Mysonne, the General.
We are your host of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
New name, new energy, but
same old us.
What's up, Mysonne Lennon?
How you doing today, Tamika D. Mallory?
I'm doing very well, drinking my just water.
Yes.
Minding my business, working on my edges, and I'm doing all right.
Okay, you still got the Wonder Woman hair doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't mad at you.
I'm getting ready to see how I can change it up a little bit, but it's actually been working. It's easier to maintain than some of the other styles that I wear. However, see, these things men don't know about. This ponytail right here, that can make your hair thin right there, and then slicking it down is another thing, so you got to be careful. So every style that women wear, from natural, only style that women can wear that works is just walk out the door.
Walk out the door.
Moisturize and go.
That's a hairstyle. Walk out the door.
Moisturize and walk out the door.
And it's hot outside, man. It's been so hot outside. Matter of fact, shout out to my boy Denim, whose hat this is, Bread Breakers, because I was thinking about the heat. I seen him the other day. I seen him posted online that we met at Kingdom, and he gave me this hat, so I want to shout him out. Always
it's a nice logo.
Yeah, man, the logo is fire, man. Bread Breakers, make sure you go support
Bread Breakers.
Bread Breakers. You know what I'm saying? We break bread together.
Wonderful.
You know what I'm saying? One of High Bridge finest.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Home
Support the home team, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a good weekend. Harlem was a little lit this weekend. They had the block party. Shout out to Fat Joe. He was out there.
Outside of Melba's.
The block party be like, if you missed the block party, Jim Jones was out there. Shout out, see Aaron was out there. Who else was out there? Everybody was out there. Like, it was just.
And you was out there.
I just drove by. I just happened to be.
There's no way to drive by over
but you
there
drive by.
Closed.
When they block you be like, oh, okay, it's a little something outside. I was actually coming from working out. I was in the park working out, and then who was it? Somebody was like, it's something going on 116th. They got the block party, and I drove by, coming from my workout, and just stopped by and seen mad people I ain't seen in a long time. But it was a dope event, man. Literally, I mean, that's literally how it happened. I was literally in the park working out.
However you
no,
got
the
there,
way you said it,
me.
like you made it seem like sounds like a little sketchy there.
Y'all went and had yourselves a good
No, I was by myself.
No, you and Fat Joe.
Oh
and
yeah,
Jim
Joseph
Jones
was out there. He
and
DM'd
A
me.
and
My man Crack him a lot, yo. I love Fat Joe. Watching him and Jadakiss show is hilarious.
they got a good show.
They do got a good show. And he said his name is Crack him Allah. He wrote something about the block party, and then I DM'd him, was like, I just missed you, Crack him Allah. They said you just drove off when I got there. And then he said, listen, man, I'm from Godsville. And then he said, that's what they call his projects in the Bronx. They call it Godsville.
So he go outside.
Yeah, Crack him Allah. You got to know the joke. You don't know the joke.
I don't.
Don't worry about it.
That's fine.
Crack him Allah, I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so sounds like you had a good weekend.
It was
You
cool,
said it
man. I had my
pretty
boys
lit.
outside, running around with me. They want to stay in the house and just be on phones and games.
All kids.
Yo, I never was like, but what happened to this era,
But
though?
it didn't just start now, because what happened was outside became less safe, and at the point that outside became less safe, and they gave us Sega Genesis.
But when I had Sega Genesis, I would play on it for about a few hours, and then I want to go outside.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
And then when I came in the house,
when things became less safe, people stopped coming, because you used to go out the door at 8 and 9 years old.
And then I got tired of Genesis. Like, every game I grew out of, I was never just like the biggest game person.
I wasn't Mario.
Yeah, I loved Mario. I had
very
Sega
serious
Genesis.
for me.
My sister had Nintendo, and I used to play Super Mario all the time.
See, y'all like to sit there and tell people them lies about how poor y'all was and how broke y'all was and how your family, you was struggling.
Oh, they was.
It did.
My grandmother
but you
made
had
sure we had
Sega
this stuff.
Genesis and Nintendo. That's for rich people. I know real poor people that they had to go to somebody else's house to play on the game.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, right? The reality of the situation
Let me not say poor, really disadvantaged people.
somebody sold my Sega Genesis.
Okay, regardless.
I had it for about a month, came home, the TV and the Sega Genesis was gone. This is
Maybe,
the reality.
but
we
they
was dealing with.
still got you one,
Yeah,
and they
I
probably
had it
wouldn't
for
got
about
you
2.
back.
No,
one.
they didn't. I ain't never seen it back. It was gone. That's just the reality situation. So I ain't never lied about that.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. My grandmother made sure that the little things like a game or maybe
That's a little.
like
That thing was
no, just
expensive.
it was expensive. But our Christmas, she made sure on our birthday and our Christmas, she got us one thing that we wanted, like every year. So. Listen, Mama made sure we was good, man.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, a lot of y'all people don't know what being poor really was like.
I don't know what you mean, y'all.
Being disadvantaged.
No, it was
really
disadvantage. Because you only have one. You only could get that during holidays, during Christmas and birthday. So the rest of if you got a pair of sneakers for your birthday, that was it.
They last you for a long time. But my family had a little bit more something, and that was it for us, too. They didn't have that. My mother
we
was
had
like,
one game. You trying to get more games. Ain't no more games. That's why I got tired of it, because we ain't getting no more cartridges.
I used to walk with my feet crunched over like this in the front of my 5411s to try to keep them straight, because I didn't know nothing about stuffing them with the tissue. So when I walked, I would walk with my feet crunched
Bunched
like
up.
this so that it could stay a little straight. Like, come on. And they could have bought another pair of sneakers if they wanted to. They had the resources. It was against some kind of black people's rule to give children multiple pairs of shoes.
Mine would get a hole in them.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't have. Now, my dad, if he was here, he'd be like, I had a hole in my sneakers.
Yeah.
Y'all people love to tell them stories.
I'm just keeping it a buck.
But anyway, let's get to the show topics today. So, there is a very serious conversation that I have watched, not just online, but I've been on a couple of text threads where this is being discussed. And it is a sense that people feel if you have not been speaking out on what is happening to the people of Gaza and to Palestinians in general, then if you start now, there are folks who want to shame you. They want to say, oh, now you want to be, now you want to talk about something you haven't been talking about. It's shame on you. And I really I was just sitting with it. And I think there is some shame that we should all have if we know that we're not speaking on that issue, particularly because we're worried about how it will impact us. Like, oh, well, my friends are going to feel away, or maybe in my social circle, it may be frowned upon. Of course, I don't agree with that, and I don't support it. And guess what? Many times that I have been vocal about issues, I have dealt with and experienced the wrath of being outspoken. And so I know it's not an easy thing to have to deal with. But what I was thinking about is how people come to our movements, right? Like, everybody does not arrive at the same time, with the same knowledge, with the same vigor, with the same ability to sacrifice. And I think we do ourselves a disservice when we, instead of opening the tent and doing all that we can to bring people along, we just start this. And I see a couple people in my comments that have been saying it, but I know that they're trolls, because anyone who comes on my page and says, oh, now all of a sudden you want to speak up on Gaza, it's full of shit. Because I've been on the Palestinian people's liberation since when we went to Israel, Palestine, and that was in 2017. Exactly. So anybody that tries that with me, I don't even
miss me.
Yeah, I don't even fall into it, because I know. And I always tell people who are my followers who get in arguments back and forth, I'm like, don't argue at all with these people, because we know that it's a disingenuous conversation.
That's right.
If they thought that I wasn't, they would ask a question. But the fact that they're trying to insert this lets me know that they're doing it for a reason. I'm almost sure that there's actually like an underground campaign out there to attack people who are starting to come into questioning what is happening to the people of Gaza, and genocide. Some people are using that word. We use it, but other people might say the starvation of the Palestinian people. And I see it happening so much where these attacks are, now you want to come and say something. Oh, if you wasn't speaking on this issue before, then how dare you come and think you're gonna jump into it now? And I think that is actually a campaign, a very divisive campaign that is being designed by people who are now entering the space as provocateurs. I truly do think so. Sense. I'm not saying that some of us don't have like real passion where we feel a way, and I'm not saying that some people are not ignorant and will turn folks off versus adding voices and opening again the space and making it big enough for everybody to fit. Because everybody is not going to come in the door saying genocide, calling out Israel, being willing to talk, about Bibi Netanyahu, and also calling out the American government for the complicity. Everybody's not going to come there. Yeah. Some people just going to come in on children and families deserve to eat.
That's a fact.
Right? And yeah, you want to force folks to tell the full story, but that's what the rest of us are here to do. And then there are people who know more and are deeper into their narratives and in their conversations than even we are, not because we're afraid to do it, but because we may not know, right? And so there are levels to any fight. And I do think that for those of us who are in the movement to free the Palestinian people, we need to be very mindful of how we make people feel as they become bold enough to say something. I saw on Boris Kodjoe's page the other day that he said children starvation is not okay, right? And there were people who really would support him. And then I saw like some of that same, why you just speaking up now? And I tried to go in and say something positive, because I know all too well that people like Boris Kodjoe, and I'm not saying this is his situation specifically, so let me get this right. I'm just saying people like him, the hurdles that they jump over to be able to even post something on their social media are big ass hurdles.
Yeah.
Like that could send their entire team into a frenzy. People start calling them, their children is being threatened in the school that they're in. This is happening, career issues. It's a lot of stuff that takes place when you decide to speak on certain issues, and it has been made a third rail issue to say anything on behalf of the Palestinian people. And so, yes, do I think people need to be more courageous? Of course. Look at us. We all the way out there. And we're not turning back. We're not going to mince our words. But I do feel that we have to be mindful of the trick of let's be divisive even within our own movement, because once we do that, then it makes people say, well, shit, if I don't say anything, I'm a coward, which you are. If I do say something, I didn't get here quick enough and I'm inauthentic, so on and so forth. And it's like, which thing do we want?
No, you're 100% correct, man. We've been, like you said, we've been vocal on this whole issue in Palestine since we actually visited and understood. Shout out to Ta-Nehisi Coates. He said when he went there, he realized people were saying it's complicated, and he realized it really wasn't complicated.
It's actually not complicated.
Not at all. So, we've been very vocal about that. We've took our bruises and bumps, and to this day, we still say what we feel. We stand by the humanity. Just the stripping of humanity and genocide to me is a non-starter. I hate that the blacks is pitted against this situation, saying, well, what about the Congo? And all of these things need to be talked about. We need to be able to talk about the Congo. We need to be able to talk about what's going on in Sudan. We also need to be able to talk about what's going on in Palestine. And they shouldn't be separated. They shouldn't be, well, you ain't saying this. No, if you're a human being and you look at humanity, you should be able to say all those things in the same breath and not feel like I have to leave one out in order for it to be relevant, or for me to be socially correct or politically correct or culturally correct because I'm black. I just as a black man, I'm always going to stand with my people. But as a man and a human being and a man of conscience and moral and have a moral compass, I'm going to speak out against what I see is wrong all the time, no matter who it's happening to.
Yeah.
So that's who we are.
Yeah, and I think that this issue of, when and how people speak out, and I am saying that it is cowardly to be silent, especially after all this time that you know what it is, and if you're not using your platform, I know why. I know why. Yes, I will say it's cowardly. But I would also say that there are times when there's issues that people will come to me with, and I'm like, yo, I don't feel like getting myself in this, because as soon as I speak up on this, bro, I gotta get beat up and this and that and the third. And guess what? I have to accept the fact that I'm being a punk. Like, that's just the truth, right? And sometimes, and no, some people will say, well, maybe it's strategy. You being strategic. Nah, it's not only strategy. Sometimes you might be getting ready to say it, but most times it has nothing to do with being strategic. It's all about the fact that we are afraid. But guess what? If somebody tell you to go out there and say something positive about Israel, or to say something positive, in reference to, like, I feel sorry for them for what they experienced on October 7th, which we all agree that the horrific attack of October 7th is unacceptable, and that's it, right? We all agree with that, right? And when you feel like it's okay for you to say that, but not this, you have to ask yourself why. And there's a very specific reason why. Mm-hmm. So there's that. But I do want people to know that those of us who are in this movement, that and in a lot of movements, not just the movement for the Palestinian liberation, but even in Black liberation spaces, even in the reparations space, we have to be mindful that we are not so passionate that people exploit that passion as a way for them to turn people off from joining. So there's that. Now, that brings me to my thought of the day. Now, I have to tell y'all, when I first heard the little voice coming out of my son's room, when they first had my grandbaby, I heard this little voice of this little lady, and I was like, what is that? Who is it? And I went to the TV. I could tell off the bat that it was not a Black person. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is this? And I watched. There was one episode, too. Something weird happened. I didn't really like it. So I was just like, bruh, I don't like this. Why are y'all having her watch Miss Rachel? Okay? I was so adamant with them that to have a show where this white woman is basically in our homes, and I guess, months later when my granddaughter finally started to sit up, that's when they would like turn a little show on for her every now and then. Yeah. They don't believe in allowing her to watch TV for long periods of time. But when they did, they wanted her to hear the ABCs and all of that. And this lady, Miss Rachel, has Blair captivated. Like, from months, she'd be sitting there and she get the smiling, and you could turn other things on, because I tried it. I was like, let me try this other show, because I didn't want a white woman to be the person that she kind of grew up like as her learning experience on TV. I'm like, why don't she listen to this or that and the third? She would listen to some of the other shows for a minute as she became 1 year old, 1.5. She would listen every now and then. You give her a little bit of TV time, she would be excited about it, because, again, she's not really watching TV, so that little stimulation. Mm-hmm. But she would quickly, after a little while, she would go off to something else. Miss Rachel, that girl could sit there to right now and watch a whole show, the same show 3 times, and she loves it. And I had a serious problem with it. And I remember her mom, Naya, saying to me, Miss Rachel is good. Like, I watch it with her. I watch the reviews. I read everything. I don't get a sense that she is improperly, like, teaching our kids or doing things that are passive aggressive little racist things. She's like, I don't see that. I don't sense that. So cool. Time goes on. Miss Rachel becomes, if you want Blair to be still while you do whatever, you better find Miss Rachel, a little bit of Elmo, And then I found Tab Time, so she was watching that. And so once she kind of got into a couple of other things, I felt better, but I always noticed that Miss Rachel had a real serious place in her attention span. And over the last several weeks, I have been watching Miss Rachel be a true advocate for the children of Gaza, right? I saw that she also connected with Bernice King, Dr. Bernice King, the daughter of Martin Luther King Jr., and I was like, wow. And I've been watching the things that she has said. In the last couple of weeks, I'm sure people are putting serious pressure on her. She may have lost followers, but she's already too far out the gate. Like, she's too big for anybody to try to back her down now. Her Netflix special went super well when it was announced. She's got millions of followers. She's got millions of views on YouTube. Miss Rachel is already straight. But she made a statement the other day that I don't even want to do business with you if you haven't spoke up on Gaza. And if you don't like it, it's okay. But I will lose everything before I sit here and watch children starve, and I'm supposed to be about children. And it gave me my thought of the day today, that we cannot always judge a book by its cover. The same way that people look at a black man who's walking down the street who might have on a hoodie on his head, or he might be looking a little rough and rugged, and people will believe that he's just likely to rob and kill me, and, I'm scared, let me clutch my purse. And that kid or that person might actually help you with your bags and make sure you're good and make sure you're safe. It's the same thing with with other communities, and how our trauma gives us, like, we are informed by our trauma. So this white woman, I still want my granddaughter to have other examples of, like, educational experiences. But I also respect the fact that my granddaughter's mother had done her research enough that maybe it wasn't Gaza, but she believed that Miss Rachel was a safe choice for Blair. And I now am so proud that we are a part of Miss Rachel's little community, because to watch her be so bold and to know that she could have said, I'm not involved, I can't speak up on those things because all children, if it's all, then the children of Gaza should be a part of that as well.
And that's how I feel about Macklemore. Shout out to Macklemore. There's so many people silent that I won't name because I don't want to, do all of that. But there's so many people that have been silent in this moment, and he was one of the first artists to really say, every song I'm donating proceeds, I'm singing songs about it, I'm calling out everybody. And this was like last year. Right. And he's been consistent at it, man. So, when you see people have that level of bravery, we always say that, it's easy to do the right thing when everybody's doing it.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's hard when you know that you're on the other side of it. And, we say it all the time, history is going to record this moment. And we always knew that. We knew that when we look at history, the people who actually stood for liberation were called out, were disrespected, they were violated, and then history recorded it, and they've been celebrated. So I know we on the right side of history. I know my moral compass, when I look and I see babies starving, I see babies dying, I see
people.
Just people.
I love that people have been challenging us
with the babies,
not to lean on babies, because mothers, grandmothers, fathers, men, children, boys.
That's right.
Everybody.
Shout out to the civilians that went on that ship.
That's right.
That have been kidnapped.
Free them.
Free them and make sure they get home safe, man. So shout out to Miss Rachel. Shout out to everybody who is not scared to speak truth to power, to not stand up for what's right, even when it might be detrimental. Not that you're not scared. They said bravery is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to move despite fear.
That's right. That's Dr. King. Listen, during Dr. King, the season when we celebrate Dr. King, I often talk about one of his speeches where he spoke on the mastery of fear. And he says precisely what you just stated, that it's not that I don't have fear. It's not that you won't have fear. It's that despite that fear, we have to still move, and we have to use our fear as fuel to go out and conquer injustice.
That's
and
right.
So that's what this is about. Free the people of Palestine. Free the people of Palestine. We're going to continue to say it. And I would say today, and I've said it already on my social media, that I'm proud to be among those who will later in the years, and it's already happening. It's already happening. People are starting to shift. The tide is turning. The ship is a good example of that. The people are already out at sea. They have moved away from these lies that we've been fed and these stories that we've been told. When Netanyahu stood on TV and said that there is no starvation in Gaza, at that moment, it was like he had already lost any type of ground that he had with certain people. When he said that, he lied so bad that even his lying partner, Donald Trump, couldn't hold it up and had to say the starvation is real and it can't be fake. And so there's going to come a point where we will be acknowledged, right? And it's not that we do it for acknowledgement, but there will be a time when the world will acknowledge that we decided it was more advantageous to be on God's side than to be on the side of lying ass men and a crazy ass woman. I wish I knew that woman's name so I could talk about her. I'm gonna bring her name up next week. This lady who's in the government in Israel who is out of her mind. And they just let her go on TV and say anything. They asked her, would you sit here and say that you feel bad about the children? And she was unwilling and unable to say anything about those children. Because you know why? They want the land. And that is the thirst of wealth and capitalism has been land. They want to steal them people's land. And yes, it is their land.
The evil that men do.
All right, now let's get into our guests. We got to change set, bring the guests in. We're excited to have 3 politicians, elected officials, but they will say they're public servants. Let's learn more about it right now. Well, today we have a real, a big show, the big show. Big show. We're excited to have our friends to come and join us. Y'all know we love our friends. So today we have 3 friends with us, but they're 3 pretty powerful friends who, if you ask me, the world doesn't know enough about what they do in the city of New York, the biggest, the richest, they say, the most powerful city in the country at least. Some people say the world, but I beg to differ about that. Nonetheless, to run New York City is not an easy challenge or an easy feat. It is quite complicated because you have so many different levels of power, so many different people who are not even elected who have power. And it's a lot of work to be able to navigate in the city, but also to keep a very clear focus on the needs of Black, brown, and generally vulnerable populations. And so we're joined by 3 city council members in the city of New York. One is my dear sister, my son and I, our dear sister that we're in charge of her life.
Yes.
In some ways. You know, she's so sweet and kind, but then sometimes she's not. And as you all know, you've seen Natasha Williams with me for a long time. And she was my baby that kind of grew up with us. And now she is a full-blown councilwoman in Queens, New York, in the District 27. That's right. I got it right. See, I was getting ready to mess it up. But District 27, also a new sister to me, but sister for a long time to Angelo and Mysonne. And they always come back and be like, well, you need to ask Althea. Our sister Althea Stevens, who is a councilwoman also in the Bronx, the 16th district.
Yes.
All right. Got
my
it
section. My section.
That's right. That's right. And then longtime bro, Kevin Riley, who's city councilman in the Bronx as well, the 12th district,
Uptown,
which is the district of my parents and a bunch of other people that I, obviously I grew up there. So that's a real important place for me. So I'm excited that y'all are here.
Wait. You gotta. But when they collectively together,
that's right.
They are.
That's right.
You introduce them individually, but collectively they are known as the Hood Caucus.
That's right, the Hood Caucus. So, does the Hood Caucus focus on Black people, or is it like more than because our audience, they be like, we want Black. And we have to tell them that Black folks, sometimes we also have to be mindful of the needs of others. So what's the Hood Caucus's focus in terms of demographics?
You always look at me for this, right?
You always
No, but well, thank y'all for having us. We really do appreciate, important platforms like this, especially to speak about what we're doing because we think it's very important. You have 3 individuals who are public servants. We come from 3 different worlds, whether it's nonprofit, advocacy, or just being someone who worked in government for a few years. And when we got this position to represent our communities, we realized how powerful organization is, and we realized that we had to organize amongst each other. And a lot of people gave us flack when we decided to call each other the Hood Caucus, but I remember the first time we all clicked up. They had like a special dinner for new electeds, new council members, and we all were there, and we were like the loudest at the table. Like you thought we were at a family reunion, and we literally just met each other. But the synergy there, the way we connected there, and then we utilized that to build policy amongst each other, inspire people to be more civically engaged, because we know that's what's missing from our neighborhood. So when we call ourselves the Hood Caucus, we just want to represent people who felt like they never had a platform before to be represented. Yeah. So that's pretty much what we do.
Natasha, you want to add? Because I think we don't give you enough credit for really honestly being like the orchestrator of us all coming together, and was the first person saying, we the Hood Caucus, and really wanting
I can
to
see that.
represent
I can definitely
the
see
hood.
that.
Because I think even with all that, I think for me, it meant so much to me because I know who and what I represent, and they call it hoods, but it's nothing but no different than a neighborhood. And so for me, all the people that encompass in the neighborhood who did not seem seen, heard, felt, or felt like government was listening to them, that's who I always try to make sure that I'm bringing in spaces, because my story is young people told me to run for office because they didn't feel like they were part of the process. And so for me, being a part of the Hood Caucus is bringing that back to this group of young people who said that they didn't feel seen, felt, or heard from us. And so, when we say that and we pull up, young people are like, what y'all talking about the hood? And I'm like, nah, I'm really hood though. I'm really hood. But
you're viral often on some hood issues. But okay.
Yeah, even though they joke and say that I shouldn't be in the Hood Caucus because of my district, but yeah, he went to private school. At least I went to public school. So for me, when I think about like a hood, I think about everything that is cool mostly came from the hood. And government is often seen as uncool. It's corny. It's whack people. Either they're old. And what Kevin said was absolutely true. Like, we all were just clicked up heavy out the gate. And one of the things that I feel we all share is that we're just real people. And we don't try to shy away from, like, who we are, where we come from. And so, yeah, I thought the Hood Caucus was a catchy name. And I was like, we should be called the Hood Caucus. Like, it's lit. We're going to be the Hood Caucus. So that's how it came about.
But to answer your question, we represent anybody who lives in the hood.
Yes.
So if you think you live in the neighborhood, if you think you feel like you're being unheard, that's who we represent.
Mostly black people.
But starting with black
Mostly
people.
black people.
Mostly black people.
Prioritizing black people.
Yes.
But what are some of the issues that you all have tackled already together as a group?
I think a lot of the issues that we've tackled together, we realized that.
Well, when did you guys become the Hood Caucus?
I was saying 2021.
2020, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
When we that was the year that I was already in office already, because I came in with a special election, and we had that event, I believe, at the end of the year. And that's when we all kind of clicked up together at the end of the year, local progress. It was the end of 2021. So I'll say we became the Hood Caucus at the end of 2021 going into 2022, when we all started representing our communities together in the council. But I say issues that we tackle, it's a variety of different issues. I think something very impactful that we've done together is we're also part of the BLAC, K, which is the black subcommittee under the BLAC, where Althea is actually the chair of, and we put out the black print, where we actually put out policies and ways we could pretty much provide opportunities for black people within New York City. In New York State, and we've worked with all levels of government, whether it's the federal government, but more importantly, the state government. And that's something that's typically hasn't happened before, where you see outside of leadership, you have council members typically working with the state government. So I'll make Althea talk about the black print a little bit more. But something else that we've been prioritizing is also investing in our young people. And when we talk about entrepreneurship, we've been able to support programs that support entrepreneurship within our communities because we realize that's where, the economy is going. So I think that's something I'm really proud of personally. I know Althea and Natasha, who really care about young people, are really proud of as well. So I would say those things, and there's just a whole bunch of different other things because as the Hood Caucus, when one of us is doing something, we're really supportive of each other. So we typically like to say when Althea's winning, we're all winning. When Natasha wins, we're all winning.
So I want to ask you a question. Did you all always want to be in politics and want to be elected official? Like,
No.
What made you say that? I want each of y'all to say what made you say I want to be a part of this or I need to be a part of this.
So I'm so comfortable behind the scenes. Like, I still feel that way. Once a staffer, always a staffer. But when I was working for elected officials, you start feeling like, well, if I had the opportunity to make that decision, maybe I would make a different decision. So you start thinking, like, if I was in that position, how would I leverage my role to do more than what I see is being done? And so that's what propelled me to run. But I never thought I would run for office. Pretty comfortable as a staffer. But just seeing a lot of the decisions that were being made and not really agreeing with them, but not being in the power, not having the power, being in the position to change those decisions is really what said maybe I should run myself.
My story is I worked with young people for over 20 years. I ran program, I did advocacy, and honestly, I was having a youth forum one year, and this was like after Trump won the first election, and I was telling young people that they should get registered to vote and that it was important for them to be involved and be civically engaged. And literally I had these young people look at my face and being like, why? No one's ever asked me to vote. What are you talking about? I'm like, well, I'm asking you to vote. And they was like, well, then won't you run? And so my life for the last 20 years is around like getting kids civically engaged. So then for me, it felt like if young people are asking me to do something, I have to show up. And so honestly, like I ran because young people were the ones that was like, we need someone like you in this role so that we could feel heard and seen, which is why I'm so adamant about bringing young people in all the spaces that I'm in, making sure that they voices is being heard. Like I have a youth advisory board with just young people, and because I have youth advisory board, a number of different people throughout the city are now having youth advisory boards and having young people come to different things and events and being a part of the conversation and not just talking at them and having them talk with them. So, for me, it's always being led by, like, how do we make sure that people who typically aren't being heard are being a part of the conversation?
Solely by accident. So my entire time growing up, I thought I was going to jail. And I'll tell you why. I used to visit my pops a lot. My pops got locked up throughout the duration of my early childhood. Both my parents migrated here from Jamaica. So I used to visit him a lot, and I used to see nothing but black men in there. So I'm like, all right, this is where me and my brother are going. Damn. So throughout that time, I used to get in a lot of trouble in high school, even though I went to private school. I got a lot of trouble in high school. But then when I got to college, I joined a frat in college, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And when I did that, I was at Nationals. I remember being at Nationals, my LBs, they want to party. And I was in the corner with Jonathan Hicks. He used to be a journalist for New York Times. Late, great Jonathan Hicks. I love him. I would not be the man here today without John. So John took me to a lunch with him, and that was a lunch that Ruben Diaz Jr. was running for borough president, and Carl Hasty was running for the Bronx Democratic Party. And during that time, a black man's never had control over the party at that time. So I'm at the lunch, chilling, hearing them just talking. I'm like, yo, I can relate to these guys. I started an internship in Carl's office, and I remember leaving when I was graduating. I was working at Carl's office for a little bit, and I wanted to leave because, you don't make a lot of money in government. And Carl was like, I think you could represent, the community. And when he said that, that changed my life. It, like, rejuvenated. I felt like a little kid, and, like, somebody was speaking to me like, oh, you could be so much more than what you grew up and saw. So I think that really changed the trajectory of me, and then I'm always I'm a public servant. That's why I tell people we're not politicians, we're public servants. We just like helping people. So I think just that notion and getting the position and the opportunity to represent the community that helped raise me, then that's what got me in the seat right now.
Wow, that's amazing. Is your father still incarcerated? He's home?
Nah, they deported him. So my father was a part of the 3 strikes, the Biden and Clinton bill. So when people say, have you ever grew up in politics? I say, yeah. I was a part of the other side. So with mass incarceration. So they deported my father. So he can't come back here.
So you go there to visit him?
Not as frequently as I should. I think last time I was there was right before COVID, but I talk to him every single week.
Great. Well, God bless your father.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
So, what would you say to a young person that's watching this right now, or listening, who is thinking about running for office? Because I think some people feel like, it's a cakewalk. Like, just get some people to vote for you, and that's it, until they get in it, and then they get discouraged quickly. Because it seems it's attractive when you see a person standing in front of a microphone or going viral for saying some powerful stuff at a hearing. That seems very attractive until you actually are trying to run for office to get to that position. And what I would also like for y'all to talk about is then once you actually win, the compromise of it, because I think we all go into our positions being like, that's it, I said what I said, and I'm not backing down. And then you get in a space and realize in order to get things done, you have to be really good at compromising and working across lines and with people who even look like you, who share different views. So why don't y'all talk a little bit about that?
I'll start just because, like, when I meet young people, I'm always telling them to be civically engaged, what I think is very different. And also thinking about, everyone's like, oh, I want to be the elected. And I'm always explaining, so, well, what is it that you want to do? Because sometimes the thought of being elected, like you said, is nice because they're like, oh, you get to talk, all these things. But, like, are you really trying to move policy? Because maybe you should be a legislative director. Are you really... do you care about, like, who represents you? Then maybe you should be on the campaign side. And I think a lot of times, especially with young people, it's about how do we make sure that we're giving them all the options so they can make the best decision for what makes sense for them. Because honestly, being elected isn't necessarily the most powerful position when you're here, right? I tell people all the time, my chief of staff, they're a lot more powerful than me because a lot of times they're implementing the things that I'm making the decisions about.
Right.
And
letting you know what's coming to you.
A commissioner.
Or not.
Right? And even on the campaign side, I remember when I was running for office, right, I'm a newbie. I come from nonprofit. I don't come from this world. But there was things that I wanted. Like, I was looking for people of color to be on a campaign. But that just did not exist, right? So my field director never did field before. Now he's running field for citywide electeds, all the folks throughout the Bronx. But for me, it was like, I'm going to take a chance on him because this is work that they need to do. And they need to be in these spaces because it's so powerful. Like, they are people who are, like, a field director is literally the person that is looking at the landscape of your community and saying, you need to go here, you need to be here, and really designing that. And so I wanted a woman, and I wanted a woman of color. That was, like, non-existent, right? And so there's so many few of it. So for me, when young people are saying that they want to be in elected office, I'm always like, well, what are you trying to accomplish? And then let's talk about that so we can figure out what role makes the most sense for you, because sometimes it's not being elected, because honestly, sometimes I felt crippled because I'm in the seat and not able to do some of the things that I was able to do when I was actually running program, because I was in more direct service and community and worked more in the community, whereas, like, sometimes I'm, like, more of just a figure. So it's a lot of times explaining to young people the landscape and then having them understand it so they can make the best decision for themselves.
I say I was really good, really good. Be bold and be intentional. I think specifically with today, when you look at politics, everything is really theatrical. Like, everyone's online, everyone's kind of, like, putting out stuff, everyone's kind of just saying things when there's, like, a hot topic. But usually when people are saying these things and they're going to do this, like, I hate when elected officials go into office and say, hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this, for a specific community, when I understand how government works. So when I say be bold, you still have to have those bold tactics when you're saying, hey, I think these things need to be changed. But be intentional when you're kind of going to figure out how you strategically do it. You have to organize amongst yourself with your colleagues. You have to understand how government works. You have to have a good relationship amongst government to even make sure that some of these things are actually able to happen. So I say be bold and intentional to the young people. But as Althea said, be civically engaged, get involved, like, start the community board. Like, you could join your community board at 16 years old. And the community board has a lot of power when projects are coming into your neighborhood, when the education, liquor license, when businesses are coming to your neighborhood, economic opportunities are coming to your neighborhood, residential opportunities, housing, all those issues that we're talking about at the city, state, federal level, these are going into the community board, and young people could be involved. Push your council member to do participatory budgeting when they're able to state how you're spending money within your community. Each and every single year we have budgets where we're investing in our community, and the young person who might utilize the slides, what we were talking about earlier, may say like, hey, this park is not doing it for me anymore. You can see how you can invest in those parks. And I feel like if you're a young person, you'd be like, hey, what I said to my legislator actually happened, I'll be more invested in politics. And I think that's why we're so intentional with the Hood Caucus, because we want people to see us for who we are, and we want people to be involved. Because when you look at these races each and every single year, the amount of turnout that are coming out are not a lot when it's coming from our communities. When you look at Althea's district, and you look at my district, Natasha's district, opposed when you're looking at the Upper West Side, these are the communities, when they make a phone call, things are happening because they bring out the numbers. And we're trying to show people like there are strength in numbers. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but when you have numbers behind you, you could be really, really powerful.
But people say that it's, votes don't matter and none of this stuff counts. And then yet we're on the other side trying to inform folks that the more votes and donations that are made from a particular community, it actually gives you leverage, especially locally. And I think there's still some confusion because folks don't necessarily see a direct line between when they vote and the thing they want happening. You know?
Because I think a lot of them are not, like she said, they're not civically engaged. So if you make a vote and then you don't go and ask your council people to do anything, or say I have a request, or say, okay, what do I need to do to get this done? These things are going on in the community. How do we change this? What do I need to do to get some help to get funding for things? If you don't utilize that your vote, then of course it's going to look like it's doing nothing. Because if you just vote and then you disappear and then you don't see the stuff happening that you want, but you haven't advocated for it to change, then it seems like it's a waste of time. And I tell people that all the time, and these people are such an example of what it is that I'm talking about. Right?
I think people think it stops at I think people think it stops at the voting booth. I think when they go out and say, hey, I voted for you, that's it. There's so much different things that happen. We create platforms to get feedback from the community on specific projects. Like Althea and Natasha came from a hearing today when they were talking about probation. So it's like there are so many platforms out there where you could voice your opinion, where you could be a part of the process. And you can't just leave at the voting booth and say, hey, the job is done. You guys have to do everything. Because it's not a dictatorship. We're leaders. So you have to make sure that you're informing us so we can lead correctly.
I just wanted to add to the conversation of, I tell people all the time, like, stop in my office, right? A lot of times folks do not come to elected until they are at their wits' end. So by the time they get to us, they are cussing. Like, what? I couldn't get this done. This didn't happen. And I voted for you. And I tell people all the time, even if you didn't vote for me, I'm going to help you. So you don't even have to start there. Like, it does not matter. You need help. My job is to help you. Right? And so I need people to understand, make my office your first stop. Like, don't make us your last stop. If we can't help you, we will direct you in the place that you need to get help. Because so often people don't think of it. And, like, I've had conversations with people like, did you visit my office? And they're like, oh, I didn't even think of that. And so for me, some people don't even realize what we're here to do and what the services we provide. And so I think that, and one thing I will say about our council class in general, not just the Hood Caucus, they have been doing a lot of social media so people can understand how to get in contact and have their electeds be more accessible.
Talk about the compromise piece, Natasha.
Two things I wanted to say
She's
though
not
before I
compromise is not Natasha's strong suit.
But two things I wanted to say.
She actually does it better than
I know, and she's doing it good now.
So two things. One, I always live by the statement, don't vote and go back to sleep. People vote and they go back to sleep. And I tell people, don't go back to sleep. Still hold us accountable. Still stay engaged. The other thing that I thought you were going to say, this is the problem when we talk to each other all the time, is we need people to help us. So a good reason for people to get involved is because we can't do it ourselves. Althea has a stand where she's like, y'all just gonna leave me to get jumped by myself? Like, get into this fight with me. And I love when she says that. I thought she was gonna say that, so I'll say it for her. But it's real. Like, there are not that many people that think and look like us. And so we want people to get more engaged because we need more people to be in this fight with us. In terms of compromise, I would say
You're better.
I've gotten better, but I
think she's really good at it.
I do have a moral compass, and there are certain things that I will not move from. And so I think that's what has made me better, because it's like, okay, on certain things maybe I don't feel as strongly, and so maybe I'll compromise on this thing. But if you want me to compromise on this thing, I'm not. And then we just have a standstill. And so when it comes to humanitarian things, I'm very, 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 very hard line. Like, there's not that many compromises with me, because what's right and morally just is what is right and morally just. And if it's not morally just, like, there's no compromise. And so I think people see me as a person that is compromising on things that I will compromise on, but I think people have grown to respect me because they know that I'm always honest, and they always accept and appreciate that on things that, you know, maybe don't hit my moral compass, then I'm able to engage in a conversation and meet somewhere where, and even when I don't agree with someone, I am always willing to listen and genuinely try to understand their perspective in a way that isn't shutting them out. I believe everyone has opinions and perspectives, and one thing I try to do is at the very least listen very intently to what their opinions or concerns are when we have to make certain compromises.
So how do y'all deal with public outrage and the haters? Good. Some outrage is necessary, and some is just hate.
My first time, and I know Councilmember Stevens has like ongoing stuff right now. My first time, I'm gonna pass the mic to her real quickly. My first time was after a hearing, and at the hearing, a person who was testifying kind of said some things that were anti-Asian. But he was upset. He was frustrated. This was a man who was wrongfully convicted. It was a hearing about fair housing, meaning that people are not allowed to look up people's criminal records when they are going to seek housing. Like, we need people coming from home to be able to get an apartment. And so he was pissed because there was a lot of racist rhetoric the entire time. It was a long hearing. He was one of the last people to speak. And he made a comment again that a lot of folks felt were anti-Asian. I was on the front page of the Post. I almost died. I was like, oh my God, because they were saying that I was being anti-Asian because I didn't check him in real time. And I had to tell my colleagues, because I had a lot of conversation with my Asian friends. Like, some of the people outside of the Hood Caucus, some of my closest friends in the council are of Asian descent. And I had a lot of conversations, and I had to tell them, when he was speaking, it reminded me of like an uncle. Like an uncle that just, they don't say things politically correct. Not that he had hate in his heart. He just didn't articulate himself correctly. So it's not that I supported his comments. I just didn't feel like it was necessary to chastise him in that moment, because lots of people were saying, of people were saying a lot of nasty things that entire hearing. And again, I almost died. I think I might have called you. And I said this to Tamika recently. I said that I feel like God placed you in my life so I could see how you've navigated very troubling times. And because I've been with you through a lot, honestly, I just kept drawing on my own like observations of how you manage things that were way more difficult than the silly thing
Being
on the Post.
Front of the New York,
it was a little stressful.
That's not really that simple.
I don't stressful.
That hits.
It hit. But I had to remind myself that I know who I am. And I have people that know who I am. And despite the haters or people who just want clickbait, again, I know who I am. And I was able to make those connections and reconcile with people who just wanted to make sure that, you know, I wasn't what the Post was saying I was.
That was well said, Nan.
This is our little Nan. Yeah, this is the first person I ever knocked on the door and gave out flyers and stood out there and said, "Go vote for it."
I love you
and
guys.
just to watch her.
This is
grow
true.
into
That
this
was your
beautiful.
first time.
Yep.
So yeah, I've been having a time. It's been a time, and I think out of the three, I've probably had the most coming at me. I've had bomb threats. I had someone kicking my office door. And I've been called everything but the child of God by folks because of a bill that I've been carrying, which is the gang database, which would eliminate the gang database, which is 99% black men and black and brown men. And it is not to me. It is racially motivated, and I don't stand for it. And so I've been getting so much outpour about how I'm stupid and this is not real, and most of the shootings that take place in New York are done by black and brown people, so those are the people who should be under surveillance. And so the way I deal with it, I mean, honestly, Natasha just said it. I have a moral compass. I know what I'm here to do and what God sent me here to do, and so nobody's gonna move me from that. But it's not easy. Like, it does wear and tear on your mental health because you carry that around, right? Like, getting a bomb threat, it wasn't just about me in that moment. It was about my staff. Like, they didn't feel safe. They didn't feel like protected. And that was scary as hell. Like, I'm putting people at danger. When they kicked in my door, it's like, again, my staff. And so it's always a balance of like me thinking about my people first and making sure people aren't getting hurt or getting retaliated because of the choices that I'm making. But I stand on everything that I believe in. And that's why when you were saying like, oh, Nan is doing better at compromising, I feel like she's always been better at it because, like, for me, it is black and white. Either I'm in or out. Like, if I don't care, it's like, all right, we can figure it out. But if I believe in something and I believe that this is what it needs to be done, it's no moving me. And it doesn't matter what you say, I'm not going to be moved because that is your belief. I'm always here to have dialogue and hear other people's opinion and talk. But like, at the end of the day, I know that the work that I'm doing is going to help my people, and that's all that matters. And so, you know, I'll keep taking the hate, and I'm sure I'm gonna have some Instagram posts telling me that I'm stupid today because they,
listen,
you know,
well, we love
they're
you.
kicking up the gang database
Viral
thing again.
today. I saw you.
Well, listen, I heard the last time they kicked in the door, somebody grabbed them up and threw them.
Yeah, my
They're
staff
kicking this door.
Let me tell you something. My staff don't play.
Yeah,
Listen,
that's right. They
we the
kicking
Hood
this door.
Caucus. My staff is hood.
I
So.
throw punches. I throw punches, man. So I'm gonna do a little more.
Oh, and I'm also hood. So don't think that I don't know how I can handle myself. So you better come correct.
Lord.
No.
Councilman Riley,
Yeah.
how do you how do you handle the public outcries?
A scrutiny.
Boxing, weightlifting, sauna, steam room.
He's actually better.
I am.
Better than.
Both
Yeah,
of y'all.
I
Both of
take
the two
care.
of you.
I think because I've been subjected to so much things growing up, like nothing. This is nothing. It's like people just talking. Like, you know, I couldn't walk down the block. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't leave my house without getting into altercations, like, for years. So this is just people just voicing their opinion. But I think it also comes from where people, I think you said, sometimes people are just upset. They don't really understand. We hold positions where people feel people need to voice their, you know, concerns to us. So a lot of the times, that's why I want to believe where it's coming from. Not saying that I have had some situations where I had to speak to people, but outside of that,
You have had some situations like me. Like you had a situation where you had to tell me some stuff in my DMs, and then you called
no,
my-
not that, not like that. No.
One thing about Kevin, when he gotta say something, he gonna say it.
I know
He
you were
gonna
talking
say
about much more serious topics,
Yeah.
but that does bring me to one of the things that I raised on the show. Obviously, you know, I've lived in Co-op City. My parents live in Co-op City now, and I've been in Co-op City for a long time. I mean, I was 14 years old, so that's 30 years ago when my parents moved me to Co-op. I've been through every, you know, iteration of elected officials and people who need the votes of Co-op and all of that. And, you know, one thing that has not shifted much, is the youth violence. That's a real big problem in Co-op. And the reason why this conversation came up is because there was the new rules at the mall where a child under the age of 18 can't go into the mall because they were doing a flat run around, whatever. What's that called? They weren't robbing
They was
anyone.
a flash mob.
Flash when you just run.
I think that's what they were doing. I don't know what they call it now, but
Yeah, but I think for our age it was flash
Flash
mob,
mob, yeah,
but
yeah.
they
But we
might
were
call
dancing
it.
though.
Oh
We
yeah,
weren't
no,
doing
they don't even dance, so that's not. But they were running through the mall, and people were saying their parents need to be with them. And what I said was that while I agree that something has to be done, still, I do not feel there are substantial programs in that area for those young people.
Yeah.
And I said that the center, the underneath the centers, Bartow, Dreiser, and all of that they need to be open for youth activities, because otherwise this is what you get, right? And then you wrote me and said there are programs, right? And so I want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of those programs. However, I would like to say that I went and did some more research. Yeah. And I talked to a lot of the OGs that are in co-op still, right? And many of them said, if there are programs around here, we sure don't get invited to be able to participate and support those programs to help these young people. So even if there are programs that maybe some people don't know about, there seems to be a disconnect between the types of like Mysonnes and A.T. Mitchells and, the names K. Bain and others, the credible messengers working within those programs, specifically in co-op. So please.
Well, thank you for that. Very dense answer I have for you here. So yes, first and foremost, what happened at the mall, I don't think it got blown out of proportion, because I do believe that the young people were there, but they were just kind of dancing, running through the mall, making a lot of noise. I don't think no one robbed the store.
No. Oh, that would have been reported everywhere.
I don't think anyone vandalized anything inside the mall. I did hear how some cars outside must have got vandalized because some people must have been standing on it and dancing. That's near here and there.
Too much.
Yeah. But that all comes from what you were speaking, that the young people need a space to go to. And on top of that, those young people weren't even from Co-op City. Bay Plaza is the mall. Like, if you're from the Bronx, if you're in Southeast Queens, you might go to Bay Plaza. If you're in Westchester, you might go to Bay Plaza. So we typically, those young people probably never even came from, Co-op City. But to address the programs, Co-op City is about 50,000 people. It's a city within itself. It used to be an amusement park. That's why I asked the mayor for 15 minutes. I hope he sees this. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. But that's neither here or there.
How about that?
Yeah, that's not even here or there. But this is exactly why I wanted to talk to him. But Co-op City needs their own youth center. So I used to work with Carl Hasty, and we were able to bring the Northeast Bronx YMCA there. The whole point of the Northeast Bronx YMCA was to bring each different neighborhoods in the Northeast Bronx together in one place where they feel safe. Because growing up, if you were from Edenwald, you couldn't go to Co-op City.
If you're from Section 5,
still, if you're from Section 5,
can't go to 3.
Actually, I'll tell you what happened. The other day, I'm in Dreiser, and I was the kid seen my face, but I was dressed like this. He's like, "Yo, that's you." I said, "Yeah, you should come to my office, man." He said, "Yo, I want to talk to you, man. I want to connect with you. I like what you're doing, man. I saw you on YouTube and all that." He said, "I want to come to your office." I said, "Yeah, I got one on Gun Hill and I got one in 5." He's like, "Yeah, I can't come to 5." I said, "Where you live at?" He said, "I live in Co-op City. I live in 2." I'm like, "Yo, you live in Section 2 and you feel like you can't go to Section 5? And that has always been there from when we were young to now.
Only the girls could cross over.
So the whole purpose of the community center was to have people from Edenwald, ECG, Gun Hill be able to come to the community center at right there in the Northeast Bronx. But still within that, people in Co-op City don't want to come there. And you understand because they're a whole community and they need their own location. So we've been advocating for a community center to be built in Co-op City where the yellow houses, schoolhouses in Co-op City. But Co-op City has a beacon program that I have to give him some credit. My predecessor advocated for, which was a negotiation for the animal shelter. And the beacon program has several different programs, whether it goes to swimming, tennis.
Well, the program is a community center.
Yeah, it's pretty much a community center, but it's in a school. But at the same time, it's in a school that people in the community don't feel welcome in, Truman. So it's so much different politics and what's going on in the community. So that's why we're advocating right now for a community center to be in Co-op City. But we also want to have a state-of-the-art community center. Community center should have a podcast room.
That's right.
Community center should have a gaming room. The community center should be able to have rooms that are teaching young people about different career paths. We can't just put a basketball, court in there and think kids are just going to come and play ball all the time. So you got to kind of think out the box.
Could I just add, as a chair of children and youth services, because I think, for me, it's always there are so much programs in the city. And one of my issues currently is that are we creating programs and not evaluating them to see if they're effective and doing the things that they're doing?
Natasha tried that, got in a lot of trouble.
What are you talking about? I've been doing that my entire time here and before. It's not just in CMS, all of the programs where I'm saying, are they doing the things that we are saying they're doing? And then how do we evaluate it? And and this is for me saying, like, coming into city council and seeing how much money we are putting into these programs and what are we getting out of it? And so for me, even thinking about saying, like, oh, we're going to advocate for a community center, is that what the kids want? Because I've been saying, like, there's a lot of community centers throughout the city that are empty. And so for me, it's like, well, are the kids going there? Where are they? And that's where we need to go, even before we are saying, let's put more money into this. And so we have to stop creating these programs, which is for me is like how we bring these young people into these spaces. We have to stop creating these spaces without the input of young people, because this is what we think that they want. Like, and that's not what they're saying they want. Because when I'm talking to kids, they saying, Miss, I need a job. What does that look like?
So just to be clear, I'm just speaking about Co-op City.
No, I know, and I'm speaking about the city.
The city. So I because you know people will click in and would think that within Co-op City, yes, that they are asking for that.
But shouldn't the community centers provide jobs for them? Like, if we got a community center, shouldn't it be? Because that's I remember when I was young and we had in Highbridge, it was called the Mosaic, and what happens was the people went there. We had all of the leaders, and then they would hire us from. Started as summer youth, and then we become
that
workers.
happens now currently, but I think that we also need to be reimagining what the workforce looks like for young people in New York City. The only thing that we really provide currently is SYP and Work, Learn, Grow. SYP is 2 months out of the year, and then there's a specific criteria for Work, Learn, Grow. Young people don't have any other options. We should be thinking about how we're expanding the Learn to Work program in these schools and all these other things. Young people are really asking for jobs. When we were younger, we could actually go to Foot Locker and get a job. We could go to the supermarket and go get a job. That is not the case. All these places you have to be 18 or older. No one's hiring them.
Well, and you have to apply online, which means that no one even gets an opportunity to see and meet and kind of have interaction, engagement. But let me say that I don't know when y'all's mayor is going to get you the $15 million.
Not 15 million.
How much million?
15
no,
minutes.
we 15.
Oh,
so
15
no, that was a joke because me and the mayor had got into it online because
Lord.
I asked him if he could come and speak to me because within that, Co-op City has their own public safety.
I'm still waiting for my meeting with the mayor too. So.
Man. You filled out the form? You filled out the form?
He told me literally, he said, I want to meet with you. I said, let's meet. Put the proposal.
Tiffany
I haven't met with him
Tiffany
yet.
gonna say, all y'all bugging because somebody could just call her and ask her for the meeting and she will make it happen.
You know what?
And Natasha, don't even go there.
I ain't even gonna go there with y'all
over
today.
There.
I love you.
But let me say,
I love you outside that office too.
I know. We all do. We all do. I tell her that all the time. But let me say this, though. Even though I recognize that there needs to be more structural programming, and I agree with you that there should actually be something like dropped in the middle or somewhere that it is a safe passage, right, for everybody to be able to come to. Still, there are a lot of spaces that are open and doing nothing all day long.
So that's what I was going to get to. So currently right now, I believe River Bay charges residents within Co-op City utilize those spaces, which I think they shouldn't. And right now they're doing a board election there where they're going to be choosing a new board of directors there. And I think that's something that should be brought up when they're speaking about that, because I don't think residents should be charged to utilize spaces, especially when you're trying to put programs for people in the community. Like you have residents there, like this lady in Co-op City, she was like, hey, I'm teaching kids how to ride bikes. Like, I have bikes. People donate bikes to me every Friday. I'm just teaching people how to ride bikes. But sometimes it's raining. You could go into one of the halls and teach them.
Yeah.
We got Miss Lorraine that does tennis there.
Yeah.
Like,
my mom is in a dance.
Jasa.
Yeah. She's a part of that. And so the seniors, in my judgment, are treated pretty well, right?
Yes.
Like they have
They're
access.
prioritized more.
They are prioritized. And meanwhile, and this is a consistent thing. Like, this is not new. This has been going on because there was a point in time when Co-op City did have programs, and I'm sure this same issue exists in many other, Mitchellama, all the different housing around the city. But there was a time when there were programs in co-op, because it was probably around like my age group was the end of it, where we did have some stuff we would go to. And the problem was that fights would break out, shootings would happen, all kinds of crazy things, which I acknowledge. And so what they did was they cut the programs rather than, again, what I mentioned, making sure that in addition, in collaboration with CMS and other groups, that people will work together to facilitate those programs. And I believe that part of that has to do, because I think, to your point, people shouldn't have to pay. But if they did, they would want to see that their monies that they're paying is going towards gang intervention, prevention, being at youth events and things of that nature. And it seems like there has been no creativity even or reimagining, to what you said about how it can be done. It's too violent, too dangerous, and it's been shut down. So I am suggesting today that we can get 15 minutes of meeting with some of these guys.
Are you talking about the CMS groups?
No, they're not in CMS. They don't even we told them about CMS, and they were like, okay, but they want to be helpful.
Oh, I would love that, man.
Yeah,
I would love that.
Messages from the community. They've been doing their own organizing, created their own nonprofits, and they've been working with the youth.
So that's something I've also been able to do. Since I've been in office, I've been able to fund a lot of new nonprofits and help people to create their own nonprofits. So I would love to sit down with these gentlemen or young women.
Been out there for a long time.
I would love that. I would love that.
I know them for years.
My son's father was murdered. He was from co-op, and so the relationships are still there with all the guys who were his friends. And they're still there. Some of them are getting older, but some of them have like my son is 26, so they got kids that age as well who can be brought into the fold. And so I just would, that's it. That was our own personal thing.
I commit to you here that I would love to.
15 minutes?
Way more than 15 minutes.
That's what
it's
about. So I want y'all to tell us about the Black Print.
Yes, yes. Althea, what made you say, I'm going to sit here and do all this work that I already know you had all the good intentions, you got people together, y'all put it together, you was feeling good about this, right? Like, I was there with you. I know how it is. You was like, this is great. We're saying the things. There probably was stuff you didn't even agree with, but you were like, you know what? We got to include this because I know this is important. I know who's going to need it. The Black Print's important. And then when you bring it to people and say, okay, let's work on this, let's get behind it, then folks start acting crazy. So please talk about the Black Print and what is the process for us, because everybody keeps saying there's no Black agenda.
Who keeps saying that?
Everybody.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to say, like, I'm the co-chair of the BLACK and council. And honestly, one of the reasons why when I first got to council, I felt like every group of people were fighting for their people. And it seems very strange when we fought for our people. And it's a lot of underlying anti-Blackness that goes
from everybody.
From everybody. Yeah. From everybody. And I felt uncomfortable for a little bit. Like, because it felt like anytime I said Black, I had to say Black and brown. But when browns, they don't say Black and brown. They say Latinos, right?
And we okay with that.
I'm okay with that, right? And so, this was a conversation that when we were coming in, all the Black council members was like, we need our own space. And so for me, it was like, we need our own space to have real conversations and dig into some real issues, because we might not all be aligned politically sometimes, but we all still have a Black experience. And so that's really what has been the motivation for me to kind of keep this group together, because organizing people, especially Black people,
we something. We've been the trauma.
It shows up. It shows up. And so, like, the Black Print is literally a collective of state electeds and city electeds who really came together to say, and honestly, it was a reaction of what was going on during the mayoral election. So we were literally like, how do we show up in this moment? What type of leader do we look like? So it's not only talking about policy, it also gives a criteria of what leadership should look like. And so in the Black Print, we say, we think a leader should be responsive. He needs to make sure that they're hiring Black people in their administration. Like, it's a response to some of the things that we need. But then we also go into policy of like what we think that what we not think, what we know we need in order to continue to uplift Black people. And so
is it like reparations
is in there, but we also talk about policy. We looked at these 3 buckets where it's like health, wealth, and civic engagement. How do we ensure that we are funding organizations and folks that are doing that work to order to move the needle? And then we have like deliverables, which is our legislation to get that stuff done. And that's really what the Black print is. But I think even with the reparation stuff, I would love Nancy to even talk about that, because that's a part of the Black print, but that's not all of it. But I think it's so important because she worked really hard to get a package of bills on reparations passed through her committee, and still holding the administrator accountable because, one, budget equity, that the report that they didn't do, and then also, two, they're not funding it for them to be able to actually do the work they need for this reparations study, which is a huge part of the Black print, and we'd love her to talk a little bit about that.
Sure, and I think this goes back to what Kevin said, as something that the Hood Caucus was able to do, even though it was something that technically I was pushing it. Really, anything that each one of us do, we all take it on as if it's our personal project. And so we did.
Even when y'all don't agree?
Even when we don't agree, we might fight behind closed doors, or even in person, but you still got to support Kevin, or you still got to support Althea, because we would do it for each other. We actually joke about that. There's a bill that I feel like I had that Althea didn't like, and then she had a bill that I ain't like, but we still on all the bills. We still on all the bills.
So do you make changes to it when a person doesn't like it? Like, what's the process? Because people need to know. I'm serious. Like, when folks are listening, because we're going to go out and tell people, if you, especially in New York City, you need to know who is actually shaping how the city looks outside of the mayor, because everybody's just like Eric Adams or whomever the mayor is, but there's a whole council that does a lot. So what do you guys do when you don't agree?
So the process is we have to submit for a bill to be drafted. Once the bill is drafted, we can then introduce the bill, and then we have to work with the Speaker's office and the committee chair to actually hear the bill. Once a bill is heard, we then have to push for the bill to be passed, and then that pushing process is typically where amendments might be made. So for a lot of our bills,
in the hearing.
Yeah, in a hearing. So for a lot of our bills, that there might have been some disagreements here and there. When we get to that phase of negotiation, that's what I might say to Althea, well, I don't really like this component of your bill. Can we, or she'll say the same thing to me, and we do have those conversations where we, you know, if it's on that line, because some stuff is just on that line, I gotta respect it. Because one thing I feel like Althea has been really good about is how can we stay united even when we have differences. And differences isn't a sign of weakness for our collective; it's actually a show of strength. And so even when we have these disagreements, out of respect and collective unity amongst the group, it's like, I don't really bang with that, but if there's something that I don't really bang with on my, or something that I'm really passionate about on my end, she's not going to push me because she knows I'm passionate about it. And I feel like we respect each other enough to be like, okay, you feel really strongly about this, I'ma just, take one for the team, because I then would expect her to do something similar.
You don't thwart
the process. Or where there's disagreements, we just disagree.
Because
and
for
that's
the most part,
okay too.
Even when you disagree, it's not something that goes against your moral compass.
No.
Right? So it might be some certain things that you disagree with, standardly, and be like, nah, I don't really want to do this, but I know if it doesn't go against your moral compass, you're going to ride with your person.
But I also want to say, I also trust their leadership. That's, I think, is also important. Like, even if I don't agree, I trust that you went through the process to really look and why you came to this decision. I don't think that there's ever malice behind either of these two people.
That's right.
So if they're like, we going across this bridge, I'm trusting that you have made the evaluation that this is what we're doing.
Even if we get shot on the bridge,
we get shot,
that's
we're gonna
us.
get shot together.
But
I trust them in that way, and that's a big part of it.
Ooh,
like,
y'all gonna make me cry. That's deep.
That's how we
Because we be going through it, y'all. We be in that.
Like,
imagine all the years.
I don't have to always agree with you, but at the end of the day, I know that they're fighting just as hard as me, and I'm never like she said. I always say, don't leave me out here to get my ass kicked by myself. And I know these two, they jumping in. If it is nobody else, these two are going to jump in this fight, even if they don't agree with it.
Or it's gonna be like, how your mama be like, you better fight when you come home, you getting beat up. I feel like it's like that. So like, you're not gonna jump in, all right? It's gonna be problems when you get back home.
I got my ass whipped. Anytime my sister got to fight, I jump in.
It'd be like that.
Well, speaking of ass fighting, or ass fighting is
Ass
like
whooping.
Ass fighting. Are they bumping butts?
Ass fighting ain't even a
Bumping
thing.
butts. Whoa.
bumping butts,
Welcome
Crips
to the
and
Hood
Bloods. We've been through.
I understand.
We had
Ass
some-
is fighting.
Okay,
Ass
but
fighting.
people fighting. There is a huge fight in this city right now for who's going to be mayor. Now, let me just preface this by saying I'm not asking y'all to say who you are individually endorsing. However,
Or collectively, as the caucus.
I'm not asking y'all to say who you are individually endorsing. However, one of the things that has really been upsetting me is, you know, I realize that people, which by the way, I'm 100% in support of Mondani, and I've heard Zohan Mondani, excuse me, and I have been listening to the commentary of some of my friends. Now, I enjoy a very unique space across the country, but specifically in New York, which means that I'm a member of the Links Incorporated. I'm also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. I am a member of a church called Grace Baptist Church, which is in Mount Vernon, but still a lot of our membership is, you know, Bronx and all over the city. And I have a 5-star life, right? I spend a lot of times with the black bourgeoisie, as they say, right? And I'm okay with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because in most spaces that I'm in, especially in the Links and definitely in my church, while it is a 5-star operation, our community work is clear. Like, that's what we're into. We do a lot of community work, and we're not safe community organizers. As you know, my pastor is like, he be doing, sometimes I have to be like, roll it back. But that's where I am. But I also I'm in the Hood Caucus, right? Not this Hood Caucus, but we in different spaces. And so sitting in that, I have friends that come from every single perspective. And I've been watching them on Facebook in a meltdown over Mondani. A meltdown. And what I keep challenging people is that regardless of whether you support the brother or not, don't lie, right? And where these lies are coming from is the New York Post says it, and then we post it. I can't believe. How is it that you were called XYZ, or you watch the New York Post call me every name possible, and you see them, you know who they are, but then when they say something that is negative about someone that you don't like, you will pick those talking points up and begin to spew this stuff that you know is either not right, or at best it has not been investigated. Like, you're not willing to talk about the depth of the conversation. I won't even bring up the stuff, but you're not willing to do that. And so what I am challenged with in this moment is asking you guys, like, how are you making decisions knowing that the very fabric of the city is like all in shit because of this election, while you have a mayor that you still need to get things done with?
One, you have to cut through the noise. And
Althea's face is priceless.
yeah, this is what we do. Yeah.
That's just my face all the time. I don't lie.
I think cutting through the noise, because there's a lot of rhetoric, as you said, just flat out lies about who Zoran is, and that's not cool. And so cutting through the noise. This administration, and we all can attest to this, when Mayor Adams first got into office, we were very clear that we wanted to establish open lines of communication. We met with him at that Italian restaurant that was in the news. I always talk about that. We met with him at that restaurant. We started regular meetings with his first chief of staff, Frank Carone. That's the first time we met with his office. We set up standing meetings with them. And one thing that we have said publicly and internally is that we never felt like true partners. And so we're in a situation where we have tried to work with this mayor. You hear Kevin talk about the fact that he hasn't been able to get a meeting. We've tried to work with this mayor on so many different things. As chair of the Civil and Human Rights Committee, this came up. New York City voted a few years ago to charter mandated the city has to release racial equity plans biannually. It's over 400 days late. Still not released. This is a black mayor. And it could keep going on and on and on with the many different things that I would say it kind of like hurts us in it. Well, I speak for myself, but I think they would agree. It kind of hurts us a bit because we really wanted to figure out a way to have open lines of communication.
Black man.
When we're exactly when
Like,
we're
why
pushing for
wouldn't
these
we?
things that we feel would have the highest benefits to our communities and not getting the support we feel like we need. So one is just cutting through the noise. We live this every day. We live this having to work with this administration on a plethora of issues, both largely that affect the city, but also locally in our districts. And so as we look at this November election, it has put all of us in a very interesting position. I think one of the things that has been said is Zoran is the Democratic nominee. He won the Democratic primary. And if we all claim to be Democrats, that is something that we have to reconcile. People don't have to endorse certain people, but if you claim to be a Democrat, you have to look at this person who won the Democratic nomination. When Hillary won the Democratic nomination, there was such heavy push to the Bernie bros. You need to unify the party. Yeah. You have to come because Hillary won. And so and to me, when I think of Bernie bros, I think of the progressive, right? And so now we're in a situation where the lefties seemingly are the people who are winning. So if everybody went so hard to try to get the left wing of the party to come to the table so that we can operate as a party, how is that not the same thing that people are pushing? And so I just think we all need to really think about what is being said and figure out what I feel like collectively would be our best partner. One thing I've heard you say a ton of times is when we've done work, I remember when we did Power to the Polls, is listen, we're not saying we love these candidates, but we're trying to pick the best opponent that we, you know what I mean? Like, we're just trying to pick the person that is like least likely to do the most harm. Not that this person will do no harm, because listen, Zoran's talking points sound really good. That doesn't mean that I personally think he's going to do the best job ever. But when you look at all of the candidates, for us, it's about who would be the best partner or the person least likely to create the most harm. And I know it's something as a Hood Caucus we're looking in to do a group endorsement.
You guys could jump in on this, and I would say that what you said about Zoran is important, that everything that he says may or may not be able to be done. But putting that aside, we also have to talk about the fact that the DSA has been very, very problematic in some ways in the black community. That's a fact. Like, there are black folks who have real issues with the Democratic Socialists, and therefore it's something that we need to not make like a quiet conversation. It should just be boldly discussed so we could get to a solution, because he might be the mayor.
Could I just
probably will be.
I think that this is such a case of sore losers. And let's be real about it. No one thought that Zoran was going to win, and they never made an effort to have outreach to their campaign. So I feel like a lot of the people that I see spewing a lot of the negativity are people who feel like they don't have access. And that's what my issue lies. Like, just because you don't have access doesn't mean that they're going to do a good job, and because you have access, it's okay, right? And so for me, I'm a big person on, like, stop being a sore loser. Like, y'all did not win, and if a lot of these folks who are spewing this were supporting candidates who, known as a sexual predator, who has done so much harm in our community, in black and brown communities. I mean, for me, I'm from the Bronx. I don't remember one of those candidates doing any big things in the Bronx that benefited us when they were in other positions. So for me, it's what are you really fighting about? Because I want somebody who I'm going to see as a partner and be able to work with. And we cannot be sore losers. So at the end of the day, your team didn't win. Pack it up. Move on and let's go. Like, let's stop with the noise around it. And again, I think Natasha said it. It said, who's going to be the best partner to work with for us to move the needle on the issues that we need to move on? And that's what I'm looking at. And so it's not just going through the noise. Y'all need to pack it up. Like, it actually sounds whack right now of you trying to, like, attack someone who you have not even had contact with. And like you said, I think even when we're thinking about the DS apparatus, the Democratic DSA or whatever, the establishment, the Democratic establishment is just as problematic. It's just as
problematic. We beat them up all day on this show. So I was trying to give some heat to somebody else.
I just want to say they're equally problematic to black communities.
Absolutely.
And so for me, it's just like,
absolutely.
Is it the devil you know? Like, which one it is?
Well, that's what they feel, though. the devil you know. The establishment feels like the devil they know. The Cuomos, they've been comfortable with the Cuomos since the daddy was in office, right? Like, this is a legacy passed down. I think about Hazel Dukes, right? Who was my beloved leader and godmother and all the things. But she and I used to have some serious debate over her political position or mine. She would call me sometime and be like, I heard what you said. Let me give you some perspective on why this is problematic. And she wasn't always wrong, right? But I know for a fact that she would have been with Eric Adams. That's it. And we would have been discussing this. She would have been with Eric. One, because Ma was the type of person that when she's with you, she's with you. And she'll check you in private, because I got my ass skinned down on multiple occasions. So she will do that, but she's not going to abandon you in person unless something that you know, of course, you rape a kid, that's it, she's done. You know what I mean? And so I know she would have been with him, and she, of course, loved the Cuomos, but she still wouldn't even be, she would have been with Eric Adams, and we would have had tension there. And that would have been one of my positions, is that, and by the way, I don't hate Eric Adams, right? Like, I'm not a Eric, because I can call there right now and say to a plethora of individuals, hey, we having trouble someplace. Eric and I don't often speak, but someone we know got arrested, and I called and was like, hey, the person was arrested. And Eric literally got on his phone and started to call to see what happened. The person was kind of in the wrong. So in the end, it was like, that's it, he's wrong. But that's okay. The point was, I had the ability to call, and I know other people that meet him on street corners in communities. So I'm not saying he's the worst person, but I think there are a number of us who are looking for some new energy in the city of New York, and I think we deserve that. And now that we voted and we won somebody that might bring it, what is the problem, Councilman Riley? Would you happen to have a perspective on what's wrong with some of your people? Because I see you hang out with some of these people sometimes.
So I started.
Your girls are Herman over here.
Yeah. I started in government in 2008, and I spoke about how I got involved in government. So I think I come from that traditional, Democrat Party that I'm pretty surprised at a lot of them now, because when I came up in government, it was whoever the Democratic primary winner was, that's who we're supporting. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. Nobody can run independent. That's pretty much how we're rocking. What I'm seeing now, especially in my district, people are afraid of change. Mm-hmm. Like, they think so much things are happening. And I think there's so much context people have to pay attention to. Like, we just got out of a global pandemic. You know what I mean? We got out of a global pandemic. And even though me and E is now on good pages right now, he's still a black man that sits in that role.
That's right.
I have never been vocal on anything against him. I'll have my disagreements with him behind closed doors, and we'll have a conversation. But I still think, as a black man, I want to be as supportive to him as possible. But there has been a lot of things that have taken place that has created so much distrust in our community, that you have two black sides in our districts right now. You have the black side when you have the young people who are energized, who are getting involved in government right now, who have seen things happening for so long the same way for decades, and none has really changed. And then you have the other side who's saying, hey, I am comfortable with this because this is what I know. When you look at my district, Cuomo killed my district. Like, I think he killed the Bronx, but I think my district was one or two. He won the most in percentage wise. Co-op City, forget about
it.
Forget about it.
Listen, I had to catch my parents like, yo, what you going to do when you get to this thing?
So, what is happening, Grandma?
And then my mother was like, well, what's the issue? My uncle came to lunch with me, and he said, your daddy told me Cuomo's, tell me about, they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. My grandma said, you can't tell me not to ring come.
They don't know. They don't know. And like I said, like, I don't want to say they don't care, because they do care, because they care about their health benefits. They care about housing. They care about affordability. But I think there's just something that scares them about having this new mayor and someone new.
Right.
And you said something right, and I'll speak about this loudly. DSA has not been supportive in black communities. Half the times when they're organizing in black communities, there's no black people there. There's no black people organizing with them.
I think they recognize it.
I think they're recognizing it now.
Yeah,
I think within this election, I think a lot of people call them out on it, and they've tried their best to do better. But these are just, the thing about these parties, like a lot of times I'll be feeling like, yo, I just want to be independent, man, because I don't want to be classified with a specific party because my ideology could change from specific issues.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Black people, we cross reference from conservative to liberal to all the things.
But we get classified
socialism.
in once you run for office as a Democrat, you get classified.
Right.
With
But
Democrats.
now we know you could just change to being independent, and obviously
Yeah.
people will support you.
I don't
That's
know.
unheard of as far as
know.
and Jim Clyburn is someone who I respect, you know, obviously, but I have had some serious political disagreements and issues with some of his positions. And when I saw that he endorsed Mondani, I said, okay, at least he is being consistent because he was he was out here trying to get Quan. I'm like, why are you in this? Like, why are you in South Carolina, Mr. Congressman, trying to make an endorsement up here for Cuomo? But then when Cuomo did not win, Clyburn did, and I have to say this because I'm always on the show talking about him. Let me say, he went with the Democratic nominee because that's what y'all raised us telling us we're supposed to do. So it's very interesting, but you can't count Eric Adams out. You know, he is still beloved in the city. And to your point, though, like people like my mama, she is not going to not rank Eric Adams. That's not going to happen. They're just not going to do that. They're going to, you know, they would, but he wasn't obviously being ranked at that time. But the point I'm making is that he's still going to be top of mind to them when they are making their final decisions about who they are going to vote for. So you cannot count him out. And I've said this many times to people who are organizing with and around Mondani, that you cannot believe that the energy of a primary will carry over into a general election unless we make sure that people who feel distant, feel unreached, untouched, are a part of the conversation.
Especially with a sitting mayor. Like, I think that's the other thing. He's a sitting mayor.
Black man.
And this is not unprecedented because it's happened in Buffalo, right? Like, I think it's like we had someone who won the primary, and the sitting mayor won with the write-in campaign.
Right. Facts. That happened.
Right.
That happened.
It's a
that
real
happened.
thing. And, this was
and
like
the
a year
city,
ago.
and a lot of people feel that while we have issues in the city, I'm real passionate about this, but while we, you know, people feel we have issues in the city, you cannot say that the city is in shambles, right? Like it's not the city of the 80s or the city of another time where people feel like they can't walk from one spot to the next without being robbed, chain snatched, this, that, and you know, whatever. Garbage is being picked up. The rats are out of control. I want to know what my city council is doing to focus. No, y'all are all the city council for me because I go into people's district to get in their business. This is ridiculous.
But I can't believe I'm defending this man right now. But he has done a lot of good things.
I'm not saying he hasn't.
Eric has done a lot of good things. Like you look at his leadership. Like he has a lot of black people in his leadership since he's gotten in office. When you look at MWBE contracts, like contracting with black and minority businesses, he's increased that number
the CMS
by a lot.
funding. I mean,
Increasing
all of that.
So he has done some good things. I think he gets highlighted for a lot of the BS a lot of the times, and he does a poor job with relationship building across the aisle.
He parrots in
yeah.
this.
But I will say this. Like, I'm the chair of Children Youth. I can say this as a person who worked on the outside in other administrations. He's actually invested more in young people than any other mayor that I, as an adult, have been with, right? And so he has expanded. When we first came in, we expanded SYEP to 90,000. Never had happened before. We have been waiting for our RFP for 15 years for after-school programs. They're releasing an RFP. They're expanding the slots. You know, homeless runaway youth, they expanded these beds by 100. We've been asking that. I did. I've been fighting. I won't lie. All the things that I have been asking for since before here, and I fought to get it, but we still got it. And I say this because I was on the outside fighting, and these things were not moving.
Yeah.
Right.
They were not listening to us, right? And so on the same side, they do listen, but I'm not gonna say they steal my ideas and they implement it. But I don't even care. I don't need the credit. I don't need the credit.
Yeah, it's a mixed thing. But you know, I do think people are looking for new leadership. We cannot leave the national impacts the local. And the flirting with Trump situation, unacceptable. It almost puts you in a category of saying it's no way that I can cast a vote for anybody who is willing to even halfway try to deal with these people. And I'm not saying you don't have to meet with the president. Of course that you do that, but there's something else going on, and we can all see it with our own eyes.
I mean, we all saw that interview where that man said,
You
if
gonna
I come back,
don't let Mike start talking. We gotta go.
I'm gonna be up your butt.
Let me tell you something. I was sitting there like, you want another grown man talk to you?
Not you, not the man from Brooklyn.
Right. Because he tough
He
time.
tough to
Right,
us.
and we're
told us the
seeing it.
Negroes need to shut up, but you let that white man tell you you're gonna be up your butt. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I do believe that some of Mondani's ideas can actually work. I don't think it's going to be easy to get them done, but I do think that some of his ideas can work. And I think that the reason why I support him is because, like, I know for a fact that the city became even more expensive since Eric Adams has been mayor. I know that. I feel it myself, right? Like, I know developers running wild in the city of New York. And I do feel like we have to figure out how to make sure that our policies reach the most impacted, like the people who are really like unseen in the city. Not even the people you see out partying, this and that. They halfway seen. I'm talking about folks that do nothing but work 2 and 3 jobs and go home or share apartments or are living in cars, living in basements or whatever, living in their parents' house.
We're having generations living together.
Yes, that's right. We have to figure that out. And so that's why I support Zohran Mandami. And, that's me. But, we'll see what y'all say.
Well, we're waiting to have a conversation with him. So we're going to be sharing some of our ideas, and we'll see how that conversation goes.
Awesome.
Well, the Hood Caucus, we love you.
That was great,
Thanks
y'all.
for having y'all. This could have been like a 5-hour interview.
Oh, most definitely. Oh, can I share something, though?
Yes, you can. Tamika has books that she didn't give.
Oh, yes.
I
Make sure.
did give a book to.
I got to give you my book, too. I came out with a children's book.
People, they have books already. They told me that. You try to, put me on.
Because I seen you had the 2 books. I thought you just, you just
I
had
have my
some.
book. Thank you.
You saw what happened?
No, but I definitely have to share. We're going on our 2nd annual trip down to Atlanta this year. We're taking some Bronx kids to Invest Fest.
I love that.
Oh, good. We're speaking at Invest
So
Fest.
I'm speaking to there.
Wonderful.
So I'll see you guys down there.
Yes,
But
you will.
definitely have to share it. I'm really proud of them. They're doing a curriculum right now. Doing a workshop. Guys, Shy Road to Success. And my brother Sherman Brown from A High and Jamila T. Davis too. Got shot.
Yes,
That's
Miller.
what's up, Miller.
Definitely.
We love her. Thank y'all. Thank you so
y'all for
much for
being
joining
here.
us. You guys come back individually
yes.
or together.
We're going
Love
to talk
that.
about some tea.
You
The
gotta come
Hood
talk about the
Caucus
game
of
that
the
The Hood
City
Caucus don't play.
Council
It's
for
about
New
to
York
pick up.
City.
Shout out to the Hood Caucus, Natasha Williams, Althea Stevens, and our brother Kevin Riley, the council people from the New York City that really hold it down. That's why I tell people all the time. People are like, I don't want to vote for no elected officials. This is the power of our vote. Like, these are people that we actually know, that are in the communities, that come from the communities, that we can actually have access to, that give us the insight about what's going on, show us how to get resources in the communities, that actually care about the communities. Like, why would I not vote for people and put people in office that care about the communities like that we have access, and we literally have, and it's not that we have access as elite people, they are on the ground, literally. Like, you can go to Althea's office any day of the week. She's out there. She's in the street whenever something is going on. She's in the community. She's at basketball games. She really wants to be involved in the community, and you know how Natasha is. She's so loving and on the ground. And Kevin is the same way. He like a dude from the hood, and he understands what has gone on in these communities and what we've lacked for so many years, and they really want to provide what we've lacked. So I'm just happy that we have the Hood Caucus.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that we have them as well. I mean, they work hard. Those are 3 individuals of many who work really hard. And when I think about city council members, so, I've been through many iterations of the council. And I have a lot of friends who were city council members. Jamani was one of them. He was a hard worker. Jamani used to be walking around with that book bag on and his dreadlocks, hustling back and forth in the city, trying to get things done and working in his district, obviously. And there have been many others that I have firsthand knowledge of how hard they worked, how outspoken they were. I think about Charles Barron and Inez Barron. Both of them have served in the city council. Again, part of A.T. Mitchell's success out in Brooklyn, having one of the most relevant and effective violence prevention programs in the nation. But of course, in the city, it comes from the investment of Councilman Charles Barron and again Councilwoman Inez Barron. And so, and the list goes on and on. I could name so many people who I watched work really hard. And I think people need to be mindful that just because there's so much focus on mayoral, there's so much focus on trauma, drama, and whatever else we don't always know how much work is going into the little things that we do enjoy, the things that are actually functioning in our city. And when we do see changes and things that we appreciate, and of course, sometimes it's things we don't like. And so that means that, to Althea's point, we have to be really, really conscious about engaging city council members, assembly members, state senators. Like, we have to actually talk to these people and make sure they know that we're paying attention to what they're doing. But when they see certain people, what is the statement? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. And so you got some people who are always going back and forth in their offices pushing for things, and they can't just ignore a person that's sitting right in front of their faces.
It's true, man. Just being in this space for the last decade, just watching, and I know that those who are intentional about building programs and getting resources in the community actually get it done. I know that I've watched many people that just had ideas that were credible messages and just working with the kids in the community, or had ideas and wanted to change certain things, and then next year I come back, they've built their own organization. They're working with kids. They're being funded by the city. So it really can happen. We just have to have the belief in the system and have to understand what it takes and how we go about getting the resources and making it work. So
yep, absolutely. Beautiful. So that's good. I'm glad they were on, and I think anybody who really downloads and listens to that particular episode is going to really appreciate all the things they talk about, whether, the conflict, the cooperation, how they support one another, how they started their caucus, and I think there are other elected officials across the country who can actually learn from and take some tips, and vice versa.
We got some black people that really care about black people. That brings me to my I don't get it.
Right.
As we talk about black people caring about black people, Hulk Hogan passed away last week, and there was a lot of online chatter. His family was angry that, he was getting some negative feedback. And then Michael Rappaport put this whole statement about nobody's going to slander Hulk Hogan. He was Hogan. Now, listen to me. I was one of the biggest Hulk Hogan fan. I was a Hulkamaniac. I watched WWF every night, eating your vitamins. A Hulkamaniac, yeah. I was with all of those things. I thought it was the dopest thing. But as I grew older and I found out that Hulk Hogan was a racist, I didn't give a fuck about Hulk Hogan no more. And I don't, for his family, look, I want him to rest in peace. You don't wish anything ill on him.
What?
I don't wish any ill will.
But he's dead, so how's it gonna be ill will on a dead man?
You know how people, because no, they do that. They smoke on the ops. They talk crazy about no, for real. They talk crazy about the dead. That's the thing now. So I'm not talking crazy about the dead, but I'm just trying to say Hulk Hogan, when he was alive, was a racist man, and when he was here, I didn't fuck with him. You know what I'm saying? And I can say that I don't want, I want his family to be able to, bury their loved ones. And I waited days because they said, this is not the time. That was they said. They said, this is not the time to bring up those things. So I waited about 4 or 5, maybe, I don't even know exactly how many days, but I waited some days. And now was the time to say, I don't give a fuck about what happened to Hulk Hogan. I just really don't care. You understand what I'm saying? The man was a devout racist. His own daughter, who he disowned for marrying a black man, said she don't even want the money from him. She said, I don't even want the money that he left. Yeah, she said, I don't even want the money that he left. I don't want nothing to do with him. He wasn't a good person. So, and y'all can live in the legacy of the Hulkamaniacs. It's cool if that's what y'all want to do. But for me, as a proud black man, I don't care about Hulk Hogan. I don't wish death on any man, and I hope his family could get arrested, and that's why we gave him days to say that he was just a racist.
People didn't give him days.
I gave him days. I gave him days because I was sitting there, I wanted to be like, yo, man, Hulk Hogan was a racist, man. Fuck all that. But shout out to my brother Conscious Lee, man. Conscious Lee said, yo, Conscious Lee is hilarious. Conscious Lee was like, yeah, we can acknowledge that, Hulk Hogan has died and all that stuff, but y'all telling us that we shouldn't know he's a racist, man. Miss me with that bullshit, man. He said we can do both things can be true.
Yeah.
He said miss me with the bullshit, man.
Let me just say, I think about some of the boycotts that we're involved in, right? Nike, long time, Gucci, and now Lululemon for me. I still wear a little bit, whatever I have left over from Lululemon, I wear it because I'm not about to go buy all new athletic clothes. But I'm not buying anything new from Lululemon. I do support Actively Black. You know that. I just saw something they were saying the other day, and
I posted it. Yeah.
In this conversation around the Ralph Lauren piece in Martha's Vineyard, and I support it. I actually sent it to several of my friends who are Martha's Vineyard connoisseurs, and we talked about it, and they also support Actively Black. So only one person kind of pushed back, but other than that, everybody was like, no, we get it. And some people said, I'm not buying a $1,000 sweatshirt from Ralph Lauren, just not going to happen. Other people said, I'm going to get both things, so the balanced conversation is there, so I support them. But nonetheless, when I think about those boycotts, I realized that I was one of those people who, Nike was a big thing for me from childhood, like a good Nike, anything, T-shirt, socks, sweatpants, of course, all of that. And then one day when we realized that Nike's leadership was doing some bullshit, we just cut it, period. It wasn't hard. It felt like a little bit in the beginning, like, well, damn, what else am I going to do? And then in days, I just was over it, right? That's it. And I'm never going to sit here and be like, oh, I remember the time when Nike was okay. This is different from my son is a guy that I just love and you my guy and we cool, and then you do something that I don't agree with and that might make me upset, but when you pass away, I can still acknowledge that, you know what, you are indeed my friend or somebody, and that's a lot of people.
That exists
we
for
can
him
say that
for years.
No, I'm saying we can say that for a lot of people. But for me, when you are aligned with racist bigots, I don't even know where we go from there. Like, what do you mean to go back and say positive things? It's nothing. There are things that just cancel other stuff out. Yeah. It just cancels stuff out. This ain't about who, he did this, or he slept with John, or he talked about so-and-so, or whatever. Even he robbed the bank. Even he stole the money. The man was out here with the racist talking points that literally get our people murdered.
Yeah, he was with the hard G-E-R.
Oppression.
He was with the hard E-R.
You're talking about someone who aligned himself with a thought process, an ideology that has oppressed our people, and one that continues to today to be the reason why so many of our people perish in many different ways, brutally at times, and some of it is a slow death. I tell people all the time that while we fight against the genocides of the people in Sudan, the people of Gaza, there is a slow drip genocide that happens in America every single day, and Black folks are the ones who are impacted by it the absolute most. Mm-hmm. And so if you are somebody who aligns with the people who are creating the conditions of oppression that we suffer from, there's nothing that I can find about you to try to be like, oh, well, I just can't.
Yeah, that's why I don't get it. I just don't get why people act like we were supposed to. Like, you were supposed to have some
No,
grace.
I think people were more so saying don't be mad at them for their need to celebrate.
No, people were saying, this is not the time for people to criticize. Like, whatever. What are you talking about?
But I tell you one thing. I looked at the social media of a couple of people who were talking about Hulk Hogan. I'm telling you, Facebook is very interesting. That's where y'all miss Facebook. Instagram is one thing, but it definitely feeds you your algorithm. It feeds you. But when you're on Facebook see your people, you get to see all kinds of things. And the very people who felt the need to celebrate Hulk Hogan, to say these positive things about him and to get mad at other people who wrote, like, what the hell are you talking about? These are some of the very people who say that they're in social justice spaces, and they do some work. I'm not saying they don't. But they're the very people that will go along with the establishment just to have access and will allow our people by large masses to die. Like, that's just the truth.
Yeah.
They're the same ones.
There's a lot of them.
And I appreciate that one guy who I know, who, because I didn't ask him to say his name, I thought it was crazy that he was so emotionally, like, distraught about the Hulk Hogan thing. But I would appreciate that when he wrote what he wrote, he was very clear that, listen, when I was a child, this is how I felt. But in the older years, I learned these things. And so it's triggering for us that we grew up with this character. But to know the true man is to know that that true man was a racist.
I was over the character years ago, because it's been years since he's been racist. He's been, you know what I'm saying? He's been racist for about a decade now. So everybody knows that he's
we've known about him being racist for a decade.
Well,
who knows?
I mean, he's been racist pretty much all his life.
Probably all his life.
Yeah, so what I'm saying, but we've known he's been racist for it. So I've got my reconciliation for the love of the Hulkster years ago. You know what I'm saying? That faded away. Now you was just this racist man that was with Trump that was just doing all types of racist shit. So I'm resolved in it. You know what I'm saying? But I did show respect. Like I said, I waited a few days because I seen that the family said, oh, Hulk Hogan. And I didn't even post anything. So today you might see a post or something come from me. But I
don't know why.
Because I
don't even know why you need. I just don't know why we can't have.
No, because Michael, I want to respond to Michael Rappaport because he is such, like, he gets on my nerves.
But why
so
do y'all
much.
even give him any attention?
Because
I saw somebody in Michael. Well, I don't ever look at anything that Michael Rappaport posts, but like the Shade Room or somebody reshared his statements, and I saw someone ask, why did y'all ever invite Michael Rappaport to the cookout in the first place? This is the problem.
That's
we give people a little spot at the cookout, and the next thing you know, they think they belong. They can now they want to tell your kids what they can and cannot do and start getting involved in family beef. Like, shut up.
That's the problem.
Hulk Hogan, they know. His family knows. And by the way, the last thing I'll say on this point is that when you die, people not gonna make up no story for you. They just gonna tell the truth about exactly
that's
who you
it. It's
are.
the truth, man.
And they gonna say some good things and some bad things.
He's a bigot.
If that's who you are, so stop it. Like you want a person to go make up a storyline that's other than who the man is. Stop it.
Listen, man. He was a fun wrestler, and that turned into a racist.
He probably was a racist when he was a wrestler.
Well, I'm just saying for us.
We should go check and see who his mama and daddy was. I bet you'll find the root of the problem. You don't know that. Don't say that. That's you don't do that.
So he just got it on his own. You don't think it came from the home? You don't think it was?
Listen, sometimes people.
When do I never see racism come from outside?
No. I know some people who
just got racism outside the house.
I know some people.
I don't know. No,
I
know people that grew out of racist.
No, I know some people who. It's not many, but I do know some people who their parents like. I just don't know where this came from. And what happens is that when people put their children in certain schools, or they allow them to be around the uncle or the cousin or whatever, and then people could go off into crazy stuff. That's like these kids that go in and shoot up schools and whatever, and the family's like, I don't even know where this came from. A lot of times people get on the internet. Now they said that the AI is the people's friends.
Most of the time, them racists be growing up in white supremacist homes. They don't just get it from outside. No, I said
most times you're right, but I'm saying there are scenarios or situations.
I was listening to this. It was a guy, I don't know who he is, but he was talking to his mother and father on the internet. He's a white guy, and he was just talking about, he was like, would you support? I forgot what he was saying, but they was just so racist that it was terrible. He's like, well, why are you like this? He was talking to them, and he's like, because. She said, why you didn't support President Obama? Because we don't care about Obama. So why do you support Trump? Because he's with God, and if he's the president, then God put him there. So he said, so why you didn't say that the God put Obama there? Because he didn't. We don't want to, and we don't need a reason. We just don't. And I was like, damn, this is terrible. It was just so terrible. But I'm just saying, a lot of that is homegrown racism. So maybe. You know,
I'm not saying most times it's not. I'm just telling you that there's sometimes these kids sometimes can shock you. You be thinking you doing one thing and then they just turn out to be a whole different
animal. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. Shout out to the Hood Caucus for coming through and sharing their political views and just views on life, man. Just seeing 3 black people that care so much for their communities and black people and really have the intentions to do right. Like, that's what it is for me. A lot of people like, oh, you vote Democrat. And I say all the time, listen, I just don't see the Republicans in the hood like that. I don't know no Republican that got voted in from where I'm from. I don't know no Republican that speaks like that about my community. I don't know Republicans that want to do the same things like that in the communities that I come from, that have the same values and cultural values that I have. So when I speak about what I'm voting for, this is what I'm seeing. I'm able to touch this. I'm able to vote for it. I'm able to watch this manifest into the things that I wanted to do. So, you know, that's what my vote comes from, like watching Natasha. Like I said, the first person I went and knocked on doors and hands out flyers. And we actually lost the first election and then came back and won the second one. Just watching her mature into that is just what it is for me. So,
yeah, remember when Natasha was running and then Angelo was like the field manager for the last couple of days, and he was like very serious with his clipboard and
he knew the numbers, he crunched the numbers up, he was serious about it, man.
That was very interesting. But I'm glad that she was able to, rather than becoming bitter, oh, I lost, that's it, she regrouped, came back, and now she is in her second term.
That's right.
So there's that.
There's that on that.
Right.
That brings us to the end of another episode of TMI. We appreciate y'all. Continue to support us. Let us know who you want us to interview. Let us know topics. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. Tell us everything. We appreciate y'all for making us the #1 podcast in the world. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, TMI_show. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, TMI Show PC. I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D. Mallory's not going to always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.
Salute.
That's how we own it.